The Bonto Fire. Nothing Uncovered Episode 6 begins with Tae-hyun going to Myun. He finds out that Youngwon is also on her way there and follows her. This ends up in the scene where Youngwon attacks him. She assumes he's tailing her and warns him not to do so. Later, she learns about Kim Minchul from her colleague at work. The next day she visits Myun High School while Tae-hyun visits Jin Myung-suk's ex-husband Jin-soo's family. At the school, Youngwon pretends to be making a surprise video for her husband. The vice principal tells her that Woo-jae was popular, but he doesn't know if he was close with Yoon-young. Youngwon learns that Woo-jae left for the U.S. in a hurry and that Minchul was a troublemaker. Elsewhere, Minchul posts online that he's the father of Eun-sae's baby. The vice principal then recalls that Minchul threatened to hurt himself when his crush, Nari, didn't return his feelings. Woo-jae saved Nari. Youngwon confirms that she's the third girl in the photograph of Woo-jae and Yoon-young. But in 2009, a fire broke out at Bonto plant which led to Nari's death. A memorial for her was commissioned by none other than Seo Pan-ho, Woo-jae's father. Back home, Woo-jae learns about Youngwon's necklace at the crime scene through a private eye. He also tells the man to look into Tae-hyun. Meanwhile, the detective speaks with Jin-soo's sister. The sister says that Myung-suk called her once and said that Jin-soo was innocent. At the time of the Bonto plant fire, Jin-soo's sister went to Mo Hyung-taek for help. He promised to help and then backtracked. Tae-hyun then visits the vice principal while Youngwon visits Jin-soo's sister. They investigate each other's footsteps. Tae-hyun connects the dots about Yoon-young. The investigators too finally meet and Tae-hyun asks her about Yoon-young. He also says that he doesn't believe her and accuses her of going to Eun-sae's crime scene. Youngwon refuses to give a straight answer and leaves. A flashback to 3 years ago shows Youngwon arriving at Cha Jin-woo's funeral, but Tae-hyun pulls her away. He wants her to say that she didn't approach him just to spy on Jin-woo. But the fact that he's asking shows Youngwon how much he trusts her in the first place. At present, both of them end up eating at the same place. They exchange a few words. While walking back, it starts raining and Tae-hyun pulls Youngwon to shelter despite the tension between them. Tae-hyun then admits that it's hard to watch Youngwon go through such difficulty. He's drunk though and Youngwon helps him back to his room. He drunkenly tells Youngwon to help him believe her. She then gets a call from Woo-jae who happens to hear Tae-hyun's voice. He just asks her what time she's returning home the next day and keeps the phone down. Afterwards, Woo-jae is having wine alone when he gets a surprise visit from Yoon-young. When he tells her to leave, she says she has a photograph of Youngwon's bloody sleeve. She even makes a joke about killing Eun-sae and then threatens Youngwon, which makes Woo-jae defensive of his wife. She then gives him a bottle of propofol as a surprise. It seems to delight Woo-jae, but suddenly he smashes it against the wall. In the morning, Youngwon insists on driving for Tae-hyun. While they eat at a restaurant, Youngwon tells him everything about Yoon-young and Nari. They realize that the fire at Bonto plant is a point of connection. They then visit the detective in charge of the plant fire case. Photos of the case reveal a broken watch at the scene of the crime. They see the actual watch and find that it has no battery, just like the other 2 murder cases. The detective says the watch belonged to Lee Nari. Later, Tae-hyun tells Youngwon the connection of the stopped clocks, which means the culprit of all the incidents was the same. While driving back, Tae-hyun realizes they are being followed. He tries to serve and get a look at the driver, but the car gets away. We do get a look at the driver though. It is Mo Hyung-taek's assistant Song. Hyung-taek learns what happened and the chief of the police station. At home, Woo-jae watches old videos from his honeymoon with Youngwon. Youngwon arrives and he asks her when she went, but she doesn't respond. He calls her out on it and they argue. Youngwon says everything about Woo-jae annoys her, but he promises to not give up on them. Myung-soo calls Tae-hyun and tells him that Myung-suk sends money to the victims of the plant fire every month. She also had a man who helped her do this. Woo-jae learns from his private investigator that Tae-hyun went to Myun for 2 days. He makes the connection with the voice he heard on the phone. Seo Pan-ho and Mo Hyun-taek go to a shooting range. Once upon a time, Pan-ho would do things for Hyun-taek, but the tables have turned. Now Pan-ho wants Hyun-taek to do something for him, although he doesn't go into the specifics. In the morning, Woo-jae finds Young-won asleep in her office. He slyly goes through her purse and finds bills from Myun. Just then, Young-won wakes up. In a panic, Woo-jae calls his father and tells him to find out why she went there. Meanwhile, Young-won tells Zeus to look for dirt on Yoon-young. Turns out, she also realized that Woo-jae looked at the bill. So she openly tells Woo-jae that she went to Myun to investigate UNSAE. At work, No Jin-ho offers Young-won's cameraman and writer a position on his crew instead. Young-won overhears this. Later in the bathroom, Aina, the writer, meets Young-won. She's learnt why Young-won defended her husband on TV, and the two patch up their differences. Tae-hyun arrives at his workplace to find that he's being investigated for bribery. The man doing the investigation is the same officer who looked into Cha Jin-woo. When Tae-hyun brings this up, the man says it was Tae-hyun's boss who ordered the investigation. Tae-hyun speaks with his boss, who admits he got a tip from a trusted source, and that's how Young-won got the news too. Tae-hyun asks him what time he got the report. A flashback shows Tae-hyun visiting Young-won's father's resting place with her. They're together at this point, and Tae-hyun makes a heartfelt speech to her father. That's when she gets a text with some big news. At present, Tae-hyun finally realizes that Young-won got the tip-off after they started dating. She never played him. Young-won is waiting to meet Woo-jae on the street when she sees Mo Hyun-taek's car. Tae-hyun arrives as well and sees her get into Woo-jae's car. He then gets a call from Myung-soo, who tells him Yoon-young's car was seen near Jin Myung-suk's house on the day of her murder. Meanwhile, Mo Hyun-taek speaks to Young-won's boss and seems to threaten him. While Woo-jae and Young-won have a meal with his father, Pan-ho tells Young-won to create a culprit if she cannot find UNSAE's murderer. At the same time, Tae-hyun goes to meet Yoon-young at the end of Nothing Uncovered Episode 6. The episode review. This show keeps trying to convince me that Young-won and Tae-hyun have this undeniable chemistry, tied in with a complicated history and breaches of trust. It's an interesting story for a couple like them, but if the chemistry is undeniable, it's because it isn't there at all. While Kim Han-ol plays Young-won with earnestness, Yoon Woo-jin isn't as expressive as Tae-hyun. As a result, there's a blank space where there should be sizzling energy instead. Overall, Nothing Uncovered Episode 6 has some interesting developments. While the scenes between Young-won and Tae-hyun can feel a bit dragged, the investigation is more engaging with how it ties all the people involved to the Bonto fire case. The case is intriguing, as is Woo-jae's conflicting behavior. What does he really have to hide? Han Chae, meanwhile, is serving complete psycho vibes, and I am here for it.